That brings us to the Clippers. Rest in peace. 2019, L.A. was caught up in an arms race because the Lakers, they were ready to compete. They had LeBron and Anthony Davis. The Clippers reloaded. They got Paul George, they had Kawhi Leonard. The expectations were lofty. But that star pairing is played in just 142 games together. When healthy, and that's a big if, because it always feels like we're saying that every year the last 4 years. Boy, if they were healthy. Well, they're not. This is the fourth consecutive year that Kawhi and Paul George have struggled to stay healthy, and now the Clippers are at a crossroad. What do you got? You got them for one more year, then a player option in 2024. Rest of your roster can also be free agents in 2024. I mean, it's nice to have Terrence Mann and Norm Powell. Ty Lue's a really good coach. But Steve Ballmer is going to be moving into that new arena 2024, 2025. You'd certainly like to have a competitive roster there. Maybe you need to change in the front office there, but watching the Clippers this entire series, and I did think, even with Kawhi healthy, that they could beat the Phoenix Suns. With Paul George, I thought that they would definitely beat the Phoenix Suns because it's a deep roster, really good coach, but you can't keep these guys healthy. Certainly Kawhi. Now, can you trade him? Who's going to want Kawhi, knowing that you're going to get him maybe for 60 games? Maybe. And keep in mind, there was load management earlier this year, the entire regular season. So you could have him for the postseason. Even with load management, he wasn't able to go. They had the fifth best odds to win the title this year. Fifth best. But it's all based on a what if they stay healthy. Well, they didn't, and they don't. And Paul George is a wonderful player. Both these guys are, going to the Hall of Fame. Certainly Kawhi is. But you're trying to keep up with the Lakers with AD. Now, Anthony Davis has been injured, but you still have LeBron. And now, if I would have told you 3 months ago, the Lakers are going to be the team that's going to try to compete for the Western Conference title instead of the Clippers, you would have been surprised at that. But here we are, the Lakers going into Memphis tonight, and the Clippers are going home. Yes, Paulie.
I don't think the Clippers get enough criticism as a franchise, and because they're lovable, and they're the second team.
They're not even lovable.
They get less criticism for losing than the Lakers get criticism for winning.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? When the Lakers win, they get criticized for not doing it the right way, or LeBron did something weird. And this team hasn't won 50 games since 2016.
But you know what? If people cared about the Clippers, then they would be criticized. The reason why the Lakers are criticized or constantly under the microscope is how popular they are. That's it. If LeBron played for the Clippers, they'd get criticized. Absolutely. But, Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, nobody cares. I mean, they're nice players, but there's no pulse to that. Like, oh, my God, we got to go watch the Clippers. The Lakers, I mean, that's the most popular team in town. That's why they're under the microscope. And everybody has to have an opinion, a take, hot take. And nobody has that with the Clippers. Yes, Eden.
But why don't they, or I mean, maybe they do get the pass for, if they were healthy, they would be a great team. It seems like, for some players, always being injured is seen as like a personal failure. Whereas with other players, it's like, man, it's too bad that guy was hurt. He could have had a great career.
Well, I feel like we look at Kawhi and we know that there's something that is there. Whereas Anthony Davis, the injury finds him. And it could be, he seems injury prone. I think this is who Kawhi is the rest of his life. He's going to have, these injuries. He's going to load manage the rest of his life with these injuries. But, Anthony Davis, it just feels like, can he stay healthy? And it's a variety of injuries there. Kawhi is playing hurt. Anthony Davis gets hurt while playing. And I think that's the difference here. Yeah, Paul.
I've always thought that Paul George gets like this historical hall pass for his...
Well, he had a traumatic
And that was a while back, and that was with USA Basketball, right?
Yes.
He was volunteering to play for our country, and he tore up his leg. He cooled off as a player after that. He was like 26 a game.
Yeah.
And then he kind of cooled off. So I think he always gets a hall pass. And sitting next to Kawhi Leonard, he always gets less criticism because Kawhi is Mr. Load Management.
Yeah. I mean, Steve Ballmer is building that new arena. You want to have a competitive product. You may not have either one of those players. Can you rebuild? I don't know what kind of trade assets you got here. Yes, Eaton.
But Paul George had a catastrophic injury. It's not shocking that he's not the same player after that.
Yeah.
We don't look at Grant Hill and be like, man, that guy sucked. Like, no, he had injuries. You know what I mean? The injuries took away his career.
Yeah, but his injury, is it related to what he did before when he was playing for Team USA? Kawhi's injury that's been there. I mean, that's why he load managed. That's why he got, San Antonio moved on from him. What he did in Toronto was phenomenal.
Yeah, but when we're looking at Paul George, we're like, he's not a good enough player anymore, or he's not the same player. It's like, yeah, he got hurt. Now he's not the same guy. We look at other players and it's like, man, it's too bad that injuries took away that guy's greatness. But other players, while they're still doing it, it's like, what's this guy's problem? Why isn't he great again?
But I don't think we look at Paul George the same way we do Kawhi, because Kawhi's won championships. Paul George, what's he done? He's been a really good player and an all-star, but there's nothing about him that you go, hey, that guy's one of the greats of all time or the greats of his era. Kawhi is. And Kawhi's done it. And that's why I think we look at Kawhi and know that next year, what's his over-under going to be? 60 games. Paul George, if he's healthy, you would think might be able to play 70 games. But I already know Kawhi's not going to be able to play. I'm assuming Paul George will be able to play. And I think that's why we look at them differently. Kawhi is already injured going into next season. Poll question today. What do we have, Seton?
Well, we could start with the Clippers if you want. Should the Clippers move on from Kawhi Leonard and Paul George?
But how do you move on? It's nice to be able to move on if you can move on, but I don't know if, like, the Washington Wizards are going to take both of them. I mean, hey, this sports car I got, it's broken down. It's got a bad engine. You want it? That's sort of the feeling I have with the Clippers.
In the old days, the Knicks would. The Knicks would buy your used sports cars.
Yeah. And they'd overpay for it. And I thought Russell Westbrook played really well. So I can't knock him. He played really well. And, his numbers are really, he was like 27, 7 and 7. And he plays hard. And he seemed to fit in with those guys when everybody was healthy. It's just nobody's healthy. Yes.
So have they hit the point in their careers then where you think they're more like better served as the third guy in rather than being...
If I could get Kawhi as the third guy in, I would take him. I just can't get him in to be the third guy in. And Paul George can still be a good second. He can be a B to your A. Yeah, Paul.
I looked it up, and Kawhi is Hawaiian for he who only plays 50 games.
Okay.
I was sitting on that one for like 5 minutes.
Wow.
I felt good about it.
I would have sat on a little longer.
He who only plays 50 games. Fritzy?
He is.
I saw something similar. I just Googled it. So similar explanation.
Yeah. Great. You and Fritzy are on the same page.
I got Fritzy back.
Yeah.
Translation to translation.
You're looking to Todd to bail you out. That's how bad that joke was. You actually turned to Fritzy for help.
He who only plays 50 games.
I thought you were going to slow it down like Todd does whenever he over-enunciates.
50 games.
Kawhian. Yes, Tom.
I have a question. Are we sometimes less sympathetic towards Kawhi, besides the fact that we want to see him play and he's always hurt, because his injuries are so mysterious, dating back to the Spurs days where even Coach Popovich seemed impatient and angry with, we don't know what his deal is or when he's going to play?
Ask, answer, ask.
I kind of did that.
You did. Is that how you feel? Usually that's what happens.
I feel that way.
You're passive-aggressive with these things.
That bothers me with Kawhi, especially because it dates back to the Spurs days where even his own coach and players weren't sure day of game if he was going to be available.
You go back, he had a quad injury, right? And then, remember, he went to, like, New York, and he had his own people looking at him, and, he and Popovich were estranged, but I don't think he doesn't want to be out there. And I think that's probably maybe a public viewpoint of him. Like, come on, get out there. But I think he wants to play. When he does play, what were we talking about after game one of that series? Oh, my God, did you see him against Durant? He was unbelievable. Statement game. And he can't play. But I don't think there's any of that, oh, he's soft. Or he quit on them. It's not that. I think he wants to play. He can't play. But I don't know to what degree. He doesn't talk. He doesn't do interviews. You're not quite sure about anything with him. Yeah, Paul.
I would love to have this dude on the show for 20 minutes. On my list of people I would like you to have 20 minutes with, Kawhi Leonard would be.
But he's got to be willing to talk.
I know, but if he did the interview, I know what we could do.
Yeah.
And like guys like Belichick I want, but I really want Kawhi Leonard.
See, I don't know if Belichick will be good unless he wants to be good.
Right.
It's like Tiger. Tiger's been on this show many times. Sometimes he's fun. Sometimes he's not. But you have to be good. But, when people say, what makes a good interview, the person you're interviewing is willing to let you, talk to them. And they'll answer questions. Derek Jeter had been on but didn't say anything. You have to have that open forum where you can ask questions and you're going to get answers. That's what makes a great interview. But I'd love to have Kawhi on. I'm curious about him. But the whole injury is going to be there. You know that going into next year. He's not going to be 100% the rest of his career. Paul George, I'm hopeful that he is back to where he was during the regular season. But that roster is getting older, and the clock is ticking. Because they thought, you know what? We quietly have a better team than the Lakers. And they did at the beginning of the year. And they quietly disappeared from the playoffs again.